You know what phrase I never understood? Try hard. I mean, why is trying hard a bad thing? Oh, sorry, yes? What are you doing? Oh, I'm just talking about this one phrase that I really don't like. It's called try hard. You're just stalling the video. Shh. Nah, bro, stop it. But I desperately need to push this thing out to 10 minutes so I can pack it with mid-roll. Alright, glad that's finally stopped. Just like how everyone stopped watching this video. But anyways, the Nintendo Switch. I've been pretty negative about this thing recently, and I don't want to come off as seeming like I think it's a bad system, but I think there are things that it could do a lot better. But until today, I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was that made the games feel less exciting than on Nintendo's past systems. And by today, I mean the day of writing this script, which means probably 2 to 3 months ago by the time you're watching this. Now you might say, Redkwan, what is this thing about the games on the Switch? And to that I would say, are you serious? It's the title of the video. I mean, I don't even know how you didn't see it. It's single-player games. The Switch has a bunch of multiplayer games, but in comparison to Nintendo's past systems, I think the single-player offerings are surprisingly few and far between. So for the three of you who stuck it through that forced opening try-hard bit that won't ever come back in any way in this video, this is why the Switch needs more single-player games. Hello all 1,378 of you, I'm Redkwan, and I apparently don't know how to make a halfway decent opening. Or F-Zero thumbnail, am I right? Now I'll be fair, the Switch definitely does have some notable single-player games. Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey were both received extremely well. But honestly, the big stuff kind of ends there. The Switch has gotten other big games, of course: Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Splatoon 2, ARMS, Mario Tennis, Mario Party, and more. But all of those games are games that focus almost exclusively on multiplayer, and some of them have a sort of single-player mode to them, which can be fun for a bit, but it's definitely not the same type of thing as a true single-player game. And the games that could be considered more single-player type games are either single-player games that focus on the multiplayer aspect, and aren't exactly huge games like Kirby Star Allies, or it's an RPG like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the upcoming Fire Emblem game, or even the Pokemon Let's Go games to some extent. Although they're a little more mainstream, so I'll give them some credit as a big single-player game. Now you might wonder why I don't really count RPGs, and that's mainly because they aren't super mainstream, because I know a lot of people who aren't big RPG people. And more importantly, because I'm not a big RPG person. Redkwan, that sounds like a you problem. Brian, you better cool her down. To be honest, I don't even know why I brought you on here, because I don't even know what your job is here. Interns, am I right? But if you don't include RPGs, and don't include the numerous ports, which for us, poor Wii U owners, don't feel like new games at all. The only big single-player experiences so far on the Switch are Zelda, Mario, and sorta Pokemon. Still on the fence about that one. But for 2 years, that's not a whole lot. And it might be okay if the situation looked to be improving, but I don't think 2019 looks too much better. It's going to be Yoshi, which falls into a similar camp as Kirby, in that it's mainly single player, but isn't a huge game. We're getting Fire Emblem, which is an RPG, Town, which is an RPG, Animal Crossing, which doesn't really fit into any normal game category, but which definitely isn't a single player adventure type of game, and Pokemon and Luigi's Mansion. Now there are more single player games here, but most of this stuff is either an RPG, or it's still a pretty small game. Pokemon, again, probably mostly counts, and Luigi's Mansion also counts, although it still isn't huge. Also, personally, not a big Luigi's Mansion fan. Redkwan, that sounds like a you problem. Brian, I swear, when I'm finished recording, you'll be sorry. Nice comeback! So there are 2 games that mostly fit with the theme coming next year, but for the first 3 years of a Nintendo console, it still seems like a pretty darn low amount. We have all these multiplayer games on the Switch, but then we're still missing so many single-player games that I think are equally, if not more, important. Metroid Prime 4 got delayed to the point where it's now years upon years away. We still haven't gotten any word about the next Paper Mario game, the next Star Fox game, or the next Donkey Kong game, which probably couldn't be developed by Retro anyway. And Pikmin 4 is who knows where. That's a trick question because I totally know where. Watch my Pikmin videos. But the point I'm trying to make is that the Nintendo Switch has been focused almost entirely on multiplayer games up to this point, which means the big single-player adventure type stuff has been left out to dry a little bit. Now I might be perfectly content with this choice if I was one of those people who has those, what do you call them? Friends, but I think it's a real shame that the Switch is so lacking in single-player experiences. I think we thought for a little while that the Switch, by combining the handheld and console development teams, would be able to deliver from all the game series that couldn't have been done with just one side of development. But it almost feels like we've gotten less new games on the Switch than on past systems. Is this because Nintendo still does stuff with the 3DS? Is it because the ports of games are being sold as new games and are pushing the single-player stuff back? Is it because multiplayer games make more money in today's video game landscape? Is it because games take longer to develop on these HD systems, so there's no way they can get games out as fast as they would have been able to in the old days? I don't know. That's above my pay grade. But what I can say is this: the Switch has a lot of great games, but I think there's too big of a focus on multiplayer games on the system. And I think that's a shame, because some of the best and most memorable Nintendo games are single player. I guess my only option is to start playing RPGs now. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'll just not buy any games and pretend to be knowledgeable about Nintendo anyway. All the other Nintendo YouTube channels who actually know what they're talking about are just tryhards. Oh, you thought? Well, I'm Redkwan. Do you think the Switch needs more single-player games? What games, specifically single-player games probably, do you want to see on the Switch? Was this tryhard thing completely forced into this video for very little reason and very unsuccessfully? You better believe it. Anyways, I'm Redkwan, thank you all for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all later. Goodbye. Oh, and we're also getting Link's Awakening. I wrote this video a while ago.